The Miraculous Cost of Sensitivity. 7 divine truths revealed for your supernatural awakening in the heart of an English village, under brooding skies and the gentle whisper of ancient oaks. There lay a stone chapel, where miracles danced like light through stained glass. Emma, the 28-year-old organist, was known not just for her music but for her soul, an open vessel of divine sensitivity. When she prayed, it was as though the heavens quaked with her fervor, the stones themselves vibrating with the weight of her faith. Her prayers had stirred the village before. They pulsed with life like the very breath of God. But now, her world was laced with shadow. Her father, Pastor Jude, who had shown love and wisdom in every hymn sung, lay gravely ill. Each day spent praying at his bedside felt like a drop in a vast ocean of doubt. The once vibrant chapel had become a battleground of skepticism, and Emma's sensitivity now felt less like a blessing and more like a burden as the villagers whispered, doubt rippling through their hearts. Emma sought solace in the familiar embrace of prayer. She called upon St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes, pouring out her heart in passionate pleas. "Heal him, Lord," she cried, her voice rising like incense, mingling with the dust that danced in the sunlight streaming through the chapel windows. And in that moment, something shifted. The first divine sign came as if plucked from a dream. As she played a somber piece on the organ, an otherworldly breeze swept through the open doors, carrying notes like a tender caress. Tears streamed down Emma's face, not from despair, but from the overwhelming presence of intimacy with the divine. Could it be? She wondered, a fiery hope igniting within her. But the well-meaning pastor dismissed her prayers. "Faith alone will not heal," he declared, brow furrowed with concern yet shrouded in disbelief. Yet Emma, unyielding, clung to her unique sensitivity. She realized it wasn't a weakness, but a gift that could spark hope. She resolved to light the flames of faith once more. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each note, she infused the chapel with a heartbeat, guiding the troubled congregation back to a sense of unity. The transformed space buzzed with renewed spirit, the air thick with possibility. Yet as shadows lengthened and her father's illness worsened, Emma found herself teetering on the edge of despair. Was her faith enough? Would a miracle truly come? On the chapel steps, the townsfolk gathered, their faces reflecting uncertainty. And then, in the tense silence, something beautiful erupted in her heart. Emma felt a shift, as if the very air itself crackled with divine potential. Was this the moment she longed for? The ground beneath her felt alive, the weight of her sensitivity becoming the very key to unlocking faith in others. She took a deep breath. An electric energy surged through her. All eyes were upon her, hearts waiting, wondering. The time for a revelation was drawing near. Would she be the spark that ignited belief? Or would the weight of doubt snuff it out for good? Emma stood at the crossroads, waiting for a sign, knowing the miraculous cost of her sensitivity hovered just on the horizon, perhaps unveiling itself in a way she least expected. The air thickened with anticipation, a sacred hush falling over the crowd. Emma sensed the pulse of longing resonating in every heart, like a gentle beckoning from the divine. She could feel the mounting energy, electric yet soft, as though the heavens themselves were straining to connect with her prayers. "Lord, grant me clarity," she whispered, her eyes glistening with tears that shimmered like jewels. She closed her eyes, shutting out the flickering doubts of those around her. She could almost hear her father's voice humming hymns from their shared past. Memories enveloped her, binding her to his steadfast faith, and she knew then she carried a spark of his spirit within her. With a deep breath, Emma opened her eyes and placed her fingers once more upon the ivory keys of the organ. As her hands glided over the surface, she played with the fervor of a soul reaching toward heaven. Each note soared, dancing through the chapel like a warm embrace. There was power in her music, a voice echoing not just within the walls, but deep in the hearts of the villagers gathered. The melody wove around them, forming a bond of shared longing, a collective resonance that vibrated with hope. Faces that had once been lined with uncertainty now softened, drawn by the warmth of her tune. Emma could see it, the flicker of faith igniting in their eyes. Perhaps this was the miracle she sought, not just for herself, but for the entire village. As she played, the winds outside began to stir, swirling around the chapel in a gentle whirlwind. The stained glass caught the light, casting prisms of color that danced upon the walls. Emma felt the sacred blend of beauty and pain, of vulnerability and strength. The illness that plagued her father felt more tangible, yet somehow smaller in this moment of divine splendor. Suddenly, she sensed a shift. In the quiet, prayerful space between notes, a voice, a low, assuring whisper seemed to permeate the air. "Your faith will not go unanswered." It resonated through her, both an assurance and a challenge. Was she prepared to embrace not just the joy of miracles, but also the trials that might accompany them? The melody swelled, pulling together strands of doubt and hope, and she let the notes spill over like sweet, crystalline water. The community's hearts were being drawn into a tapestry of grace. They began to hum along, voices intertwining until the chapel blossomed with sound. But then, even in the midst of this fiery resurgence of faith, shadows crept back into Emma's mind. What if the healing did not come? What if her father remained unwell? Was this burst of faith merely fleeting, a brief flicker against the encroaching darkness? The fear threatened to swell again until the chorus of voices broke through, grounding her in the present, lifting her spirit. And just as hope illuminated the room, a flicker of understanding crossed Emma's heart. Miracles were not simply answers to prayers, but also invitations to deeper trust. They were paths woven through trials, leading to spiritual intimacy that uplifted them all. Through her sensitivity, she would lead them not always to certainty, but to an unwavering faith that thrived even in doubt. With renewed conviction, she sang from her heart, pouring out everything she was into that sacred space. Every note became a testament, every lyric an invocation. The chapel transformed into a sanctuary of connection, forging bonds that reached beyond her own pain. As the last note lingered in the air, the crowd exhaled deeply, a collective sigh of relief and grace. Emma sensed a stirring, an awareness that this moment was just the beginning. What awaited next, she couldn't begin to imagine. Will we gather again, seeking the next sign? She pondered. The answer felt almost tangible, waiting in the silences that followed. There was still a journey ahead, a deepening path to navigate. And as she soaked in the whispered prayers of those around her, she knew this goddess plan was unfolding, and it was bound to create a divine revelation like none other. What changes would come in the days to follow? Only time would reveal the depth of the miracle that awaited. The echoes of the melody faded, leaving a hush that enveloped the chapel like a comforting cloak. Emma lingered over the final note, her hands still resting on the organ. She could feel every heart around her, their hopes, their fears, all intertwined in a sacred dance. And somehow, in the stillness that followed, she felt the weight of expectation settle around her like a crown as the congregation began to stir. Emma took a deep breath, her spirit hungry for the next piece of divine wisdom. The whispers of her community reached her ears like a gentle breeze, a soft rustling of hearts drawn to one another. "Emma, that was beautiful," one woman exclaimed, her voice trembling with emotion. "I felt God's presence so strongly, like he was right here with us." Another man nodded, tears shimmering in his eyes. "Your music touched something deep inside me. It reminded me of the power of faith. I needed that, we all did." A swell of gratitude washed over Emma, filling her heart with warmth. Perhaps she had underestimated the impact of her faith journey. Perhaps it was never just about her father's healing. "Thank you," she replied, her voice thick with emotion. "But this moment belongs to all of us. We've all been yearning for connection, for hope." Those words hung in the air, piercing hearts like a shaft of light. Emma felt the urge to share, to open her heart wider. Faith isn't always about the answers we seek. Sometimes, it's simply about believing together even when doubt clouds our vision. A ripple of agreement swept through the crowd. Eyes brightened, nods of understanding flourished among faces once clouded by uncertainty. The shadows of fear began to dissipate as they embraced this new understanding together. What will we do now? Someone called out softly. Where do we go from here? Emma paused, sensing that they stood at the edge of something beautiful, something mysterious yet profound. I don't know what lies ahead, she answered honestly, but I believe God is inviting us to take this journey together. The crowd hushed, each person absorbing her words, pondering the weight of their shared experience. Let us meet again, Emma proposed, feeling the ground of connection firm beneath their feet. Let us come together to pray, to share our stories, and to seek out the signs of God's grace in our lives. Each gathering can be a step toward the miracles that await. Quiet murmurs of excitement spread like wildfire through the congregation. I will bring my neighbor, one woman declared. He feels lost. Maybe he can find faith in our hope. I'll invite my children, said another man, determination brightening his eyes. They need to see us bound together in love. Emma's heart soared at their eagerness. The very air crackled with a powerful, unseen energy, a promise of something transformative. She felt God's reassurance wash over her again. In the days that followed, the village became alive with anticipation. Emma saw the sunlight catching the surface of her father's window, illuminating the room with a golden glow. Each passing hour seemed pregnant with possibility. Yet, as her father's illness loomed heavy, the burden of faith grew in equal measure. She began to understand that true miracles required a willingness to stand firm, to face the fears that would rise like storm clouds. Would her father embrace the healing they all prayed for? And as she prepared for their next gathering, a flicker of uncertainty took hold. What if it isn't enough? She wondered, biting her lip as she stared into the blurred horizon. But there, under the sky painted in hues of hope and faith, she felt the whisper of God once more. Trust, for every step taken in love brings you closer to what you seek. The echo of the divine gently tugged at her heart, reminding her that sometimes, the greatest transformation happens when one dares to lean into the unknown. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the village, Emma pondered the path ahead. Could they uncover the depth of faith that intertwined their lives and the promise that fluttered like a butterfly just beyond reach? What wonders lay in wait for their gathering? The days rolled into weeks, each one filled with a bubbling anticipation that seemed to rise from the very earth beneath Emma's feet. Each morning, as she opened her father's window, the sun spilled into the room in beams of warmth, igniting hope within her heart. She could sense the longing of her community, echoing back to her like a choir waiting to sing. With every evening gathering, they came together, sharing stories woven with faith and whispered prayers. She watched them link arms, both physically and spiritually, forming a tapestry of resilience that shone like gold in the dimmest of moments. Emma felt a stirring within her soul, as if a seed planted long ago was finally breaking through the soil, reaching toward heaven. One crisp evening, with the air alive with the scent of autumn leaves, Emma stood before the congregation. The flickering candlelight danced in their eyes, and she spoke with a voice edged with divine urgency. Tonight, let us share our burdens and let light pierce through the shadows of our fear. A young man, trembling yet courageous, rose from the back. I've been battling addiction, he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Feels like a chain around my heart. Soft gasps gripped the room, but before silence could blanket them, Emma stepped forward. Your honesty is a gift. In sharing, we break those chains. Let us pray for you. The room erupted into a whirlwind of prayer, hearts knit together in the fervor of shared hope. Emma could feel the weight of love lifting, the kind that transcended personal struggles and anchored all present into one collective spirit. As the prayers ascended, Emma's heart fluttered. She witnessed the miraculous nature of vulnerability. Every confession, every prayer was a thread stitched into the fabric of faith, the very fabric they were building together. Then, with a deep breath, Emma shared her own fear. "I worry for my father," she admitted, tears beginning to glimmer in her eyes. "I wonder if my faith is enough." A wise old woman reached out, gently squeezing Emma's hand. "Sweet child, faith isn't always knowing it's a trust that blooms even in doubt. Sometimes the miracle is simply to keep believing." Emma felt warmth envelop her, and from all corners of the room came murmurs of agreement, soft encouragement lighting a path through her uncertainty. The evening turned into a sacred space, alive with testimonies of healing, losses transformed into strength, and scars turned into stories of resilience. The presence of God felt tangible, weaving through the air like a gentle breeze, reminding everyone that they didn't walk alone. Yet even in this vibrant outpouring of faith, Emma felt a flicker of doubt whispering in her ear. But what if it all fades? She mused internally. What if the light dims after tonight? As the gathering came to a close, Emma took a moment to collect her thoughts. Stepping outside, she gazed up at the night sky, where stars shimmered like scattered dreams waiting to be realized. Deep within her spirit, a question unfurled: was her journey her own, or was it always meant to be shared? The flickering of a distant star caught her eye, and she felt both dread and excitement intertwined. What if the next step in her faith journey would be the one that cracked open the heavens? The night was filled with the promise of revelation, hinting at divine mysteries they had yet to uncover together. What awaited beyond the shadows still loomed like a beautiful enigma, beckoning them further into the embrace of faith's wonders. The next evening arrived with a quiet weight, one that felt like the gentle pressure of anticipation filling Emma's chest. She awoke to a world painted in hues of silver and blue, the sun hidden behind thick clouds promising rain. It was as if the heavens themselves were preparing for something powerful to unfold. Emma sensed it deeply. It was a stirring, a ripple of sacred urgency that whispered through the very air she breathed. She made her way to the community center, heart pounding not from fear but from fervent anticipation. The skies might have been gray, but the warmth of her friends' spirits brightened the room as she stepped over the threshold. Conversations floated around her like melodious hymns. The gathering buzzed with excitement, but it was tinged with an undercurrent of transformation, as if every heart present was ready to leap into the unknown together. "Let us prepare our hearts for something new tonight," Emma said, her voice steady, filled with an unfamiliar assurance. "Let us lay our burdens down and open ourselves to the whispers of the divine." Eyes sparkled with determination. She could feel the collective heartbeat of hope resonate among them. As they gathered in a circle, Emma felt blessed by the presence of her community, each face reflecting shards of their own struggles. She began to share an idea that had taken root since her last encounter with vulnerability. What if we engaged in a sacred prayer, not just of asking but of listening? Let us tune our hearts to hear what God has for us tonight. A ripple of murmurs spread, and Emma's heart swelled. She was no longer gazing up at the stars. Her community was now her constellation. With that, they closed their eyes, and the room slipped into a holy silence, thick and potent. Emma focused her thoughts, inviting the presence of the Holy Spirit to guide them. With each passing moment, she felt the soft breath of God wrapping around her, lifting her spirit and calming her doubts. Then came the flood of impressions, little nudges that danced in her heart. She sensed pieces of resilience, vivid images of hope taking flight, of burdens falling, even of hearts mending. Emma opened her eyes, and she could see it reflected in the faces around her, the glimmer of revelation. One by one, they opened their mouths, sharing pieces of what they had felt and seen. A young woman spoke of a vision of light breaking through a dark tunnel, while an elder shared feelings of strong waves crashing, symbolizing trials that ultimately set them free. Amidst the flows of inspiration, a still small voice whispered something essential to Emma's heart. The cost of being sensitive is profound, but it is in that sensitivity where your transformation begins. As each testimony flowed, Emma realized how each act of vulnerability was a stepping stone toward awakening. The more they shared, the deeper the connection among them grew. With every echo of their faith, they kindled a fire, a blazing light that pushed against the shadows of uncertainty. Yet, as the gathering began to close, A tender heaviness brimmed in Emma's heart. She wondered about the depths of that sensitivity. What if opening ourselves too wide leads to pain? The thought crept in. Resolute, she banished the doubt and captivated her friends once more. We carry together not just our burdens but the promise of something far greater. Let us embrace the cost of our sensitivity. Together, we'll explore the miraculous journey it leads us on. What wonders are just beyond that door? The question hung in the air, vibrant and alive, as they exchanged glances filled with wonder. What awaited them next both in the community and within themselves felt like a sacred adventure about to unfold. Emma's heart raced as she realized the possibilities were limitless. As they clasped their hands, a single thought resonated among them. What does it truly mean to awaken to the supernatural? The atmosphere within the community center crackled with possibilities, an electric tension that felt almost tangible. Emma's heart swirled with excitement and wonder as they held hands, an unbroken chain of faith and vulnerability. Let us listen, she urged softly, her words barely above a whisper, as if the air itself might carry them to the ears of the divine. Each person in the circle breathed in deeply, and Emma could feel their hearts quieting, tuning in to the frequency of grace. In that sacred moment, the sensation of love enveloped them. Emma opened her eyes slowly, feeling the warmth radiate from the souls around her. They were all connected, their struggles weaving together in a tapestry of shared experience, of hope reaching out towards the miraculous. Isn't it amazing, Emma said, almost to herself, that when we put aside our fears and doubts, we find strength in our unity? Together, we're unstoppable. The group nodded, their eyes shining with acceptance. It felt like they were all on the edge of something monumental. Emma's faith flourished, budded by this shared hope that sprang up like flowers through concrete as they began to share again. The air shifted. The young woman who had spoken about the light tapping into her vision was now enveloped in a gentle glow. While praying, I felt an urge to just be present. And in that stillness, a vision unfolded. She began, her voice steady but awestruck. I saw a river, flowing with the clearest water. It was beautiful, glistening, and when I reached down to touch it, I felt it wash over me, cleansing me of burdens I didn't even know I carried. Gasps of wonder echoed through the circle, and something stirred deep within Emma. A river, it symbolized life, abundance, and renewal. What a promise was woven into that image. Another voice arose, gentle yet firm. An older gentleman, one of the most reserved members, spoke with an honesty that sliced through the silence. I've been afraid to open my heart wide enough to be vulnerable. But now, I see that I've needed this, a reminder that it's okay to yearn for something more. To allow myself to depend on others. To love fiercely. Tears glistened in his eyes, deep reflections of a battle fought over many years. Emma felt something shift within her too. It was a warmth, a certainty that cut through doubt like a knife. Struggle could lead to growth, but it needed to be met with courage. One by one, they shared their visions and thoughts. A new young mother saw her child bathed in a halo of light, while another expressed a burning desire to break chains of fear that had held her captive. Each sentiment brewed a deeper awareness in Emma. There was a richness in their stories that promised transformation. Tonight, we invite the Spirit to show us the depths of our sensitivity, Emma said, her voice rising with fervor. For in that gentle place, we learn to see beyond the mundane and into the miraculous. Let us go deeper. As the room swelled with their voices rising, a peaceful hum surrounded them, wrapping them in goddess presence. Emma closed her eyes one last time, surrendering her heart, bracing for whatever was next. Then came a soft noise in the corner of the room, a fragile crack, like the sound of something shifting. The mood thickened instantly, a mix of tension and wonder swirling in the air. What was that? Someone whispered. Emma felt her pulse quicken as she looked around, gripping the hands of her friends tightly. Could it be, she dared to think? Could it be that the walls between our world and the supernatural are beginning to thin? Silent excitement filled the space, as each heart considered the lesson unfolding. All were drawn to a question that hovered ominously. What comes next when we dare to embrace our sensitivity? The air vibrated with a shared sense of inquiry, as if they stood on the precipice of something far greater than themselves. A hush descended, wrapping the group in a blanket of anticipation. What awaited them just beyond the veil of the ordinary? Emma's heart raced, a wild drumbeat echoing the stirring of souls eager for revelation. "Let us lean in closer," Emma suggested, her voice a soothing balm against the stirring excitement. They shuffled forward, hands still connected, a chain of fragile strength. The air around them felt alive, buzzing with whispers of the divine. It was a sensation like no other, the heart of God tapping softly on the door of their spirits, urging them to open wide, and just as they settled into the stillness, a gentle light flickered in the corner of the room, shimmering like morning dew under the first rays of the sun. The young woman who had shared her vision looked up, her face glowing with a brightness that seemed almost otherworldly. "I feel it," she breathed, a call to share more. Something is about to break. Emma's breath caught, a deep longing swelling in her chest. Could it be? The Spirit was moving among them, healing, revealing, transforming. It felt like stepping into a river of grace, cold and refreshing, washing away the accumulated burdens of their lives. "Speak it," a voice rang out, breaking the tension. It was Sarah, her eyes aflame with urgency. That single phrase ignited something in Emma, light exploding in her spirit. They needed to let go of the fear that gripped them, to lean heart-first into whatever divine glory awaited. The young woman took a deep breath, a mixture of fear and wonder playing on her face. "I saw not just a river, but a waterfall cascading down. It was powerful. Each drop was a sacred promise from God, flowing over people, igniting hope where despair once lingered." She paused, and her lips trembled as she continued. "I could almost hear the roar of its blessing." The room seemed to vibrate with an electric kind of energy, each person sensing a heartbeat of faith echoing off the walls. Emma felt tears prick her eyes, the sacred image seeping into her bones. They weren't just spectators. They were participants in a transformative dance. Another heart joined in, Brian, a quiet voice in their midst. "I never gave much thought to holding vulnerability like it was a treasure," he said softly. "But tonight it feels like the sheer weight of my walls is crumbling." His words drew murmurs of agreement, a soft chorus of empathy wrapping around him. And in that shedding, Emma added, feeling urgency bubble within her like boiling water, "We discover what it means to brave the river, to swim in divine love despite the fear of being swept away." "SNT that the miracle?" whispered Sarah, her eyes wet with tears. "To let go and trust that we will emerge on the other side, renewed." The sigh that passed through the group felt like a collective exhale, a release of everything they had contained for too long. It was a parting gift from God, an assurance that the journey ahead would be marked by grace. Yet, just as peace settled, that crack from earlier returned, sharper now, slicing through their sacred bubble. "But wait, if we embrace this sensitivity," Emma interjected, a shadow casting across her features, "what is the cost?" An apprehensive silence enveloped them, each heart resonating with the weight of that question. Could it be that the call to openness also invited pain? Emma's voice softened, because along with the blessings of healing, do we not also become more aware of suffering? Are we prepared to feel the depths of both joy and sorrow? In that moment, the tension in the air thickened again, like the stillness before a storm. It was a threshold, an invitation to step forward with courage, to embrace whatever came next as they held each other's gaze. A sense of destiny swelled inside Emma. She knew they were at the edge of something powerful, something that could transform their lives forever but also make them vulnerable to heartache. Together, then, she breathed out, "Let us prepare to dive in. Are we ready for the wave?" With silence hanging like a pendulum, they awaited the answer, hearts racing with hope and trembling with fear. What awaited them on the other side of their willingness? What divine truth would unfold? The time for revelation was near. A radiant hush washed over the room, stretching hearts and minds into the expanse of the unknown. Emma's spirit was buoyant, like a bird ready to take flight. "What if this is the beginning?" she whispered, searching the eyes of her friends for a glimmer of agreement. The young woman who had spoken earlier, eyes luminous with knowledge, continued, "This waterfall, I realized it's not just a symbol. It's also the cleansing flood we must willingly step into, letting it wash over us." Her voice was steady, each word blessed with purpose. Embracing sensitivity means we say yes to being shaped, molded, and even shaken. A shiver danced down Emma's spine as she contemplated the bravery threaded within those words. Could they truly embark on this journey? Would they surrender to the unknown? She felt a stir of trepidation, a shadow of doubt lurking at the corner of her thoughts. "Isn't it captivating, though?" Sarah chimed in, her passion palpable. "Every drop of this waterfall serves a purpose. It brings healing, but it also pushes us to confront our own darkness." The light in her eyes flared, conveying the depth of understanding that dwelled within her. "I think about my own fears," Brian added, voice barely above a whisper, "the isolation and self-doubt I've harbored for so long. Setting aside those familiar chains feels daunting, yet I can almost taste the freedom that awaits." A collective sigh rippled through the circle, each person breathing in the weight of what lay ahead. Their souls intertwined, threads of vulnerability weaving a tapestry of strength. Emma felt the thrill coursing through them. A promise ignited in the air, a promise of growth, of grandeur. "Just imagine it," Emma exclaimed, excitement shimmering in her voice. "Being freed from the weight of our walls. What if we emerged from this waterfall as vessels of hope, carrying Goddess love to those trapped in despair?" The group absorbed her words, hearts leaping at the thought. Was it truly possible? Could they become part of a greater story, beyond their personal struggles? Yet Emma paused, a weight returning. Are we ready for the discomfort that may come as well? The challenge of stepping into the current when everything within us screams to retreat? They all fell into an introspective silence, grappling with the reality of surrender. Sensitivity invites not only the joy of connection but also the reality of pain, the awareness of suffering both inside and outside their circle. It would be a journey of heartache alongside exhilaration. "I believe," the young woman finally spoke, her voice now an anchor for the emotional tempest, "that by embracing both, we become conduits of Goddess love, individuals who not only speak the truth of His grace, but live it through our actions." Emma felt an electric spark in the air as truth unfolded to them. Their hesitations began to dissolve, like mist in the morning sun. They were travelers poised on the cusp of something profound. Just then, the sound of rushing water echoed faintly around them, a subtle reminder of the waterfall just beyond grasp. Shadows danced in the corners of the room, whispering secrets and possibilities. "Who will step first?" Sarah asked, eyes alight with eager anticipation. "Will we allow ourselves to be transformed by this river of love?" A heartbeat pulsed through the group, lingering with an unspoken yearning. Each soul was poised at the edge, ready to leap into the divine unknown. Would they forge ahead together, hand in hand, into whatever awaited them beyond their fears? Emma glanced around her, a smile blooming on her face, for she could sense it, the hesitation intertwining with hope. This was not merely a gathering, it was an altar, and they were on the brink of divine awakening. "Let us face it together," she proclaimed, arms wide, inviting each person to join her. "Together we can brave the wave. Together we can embrace what comes next." As the warmth of their resolve filled the room, Emma closed her eyes, surrendering to the pull of divine mystery. What awaited them? And when the moment of divine intervention arrived, how would they each respond? Feelings twinkled in the air, as curiosity swelled with the promise of revelation. A stillness enveloped them, a sacred silence where time seemed to bend. Each breath that passed between Emma and her friends carried the weight of destiny. They each closed their eyes for a moment, letting the whispers of the unseen draw them deeper into communion. "Let us pray," Emma suggested softly, her voice barely above a whisper. It was a simple invitation, yet it felt like the key to unlock a deeper truth that hovered just beyond their reach. As they bowed their heads, the room dipped into a stillness that echoed with heartbeats. Emma felt warmth gather in the center of their circle, a holy presence swelling like the tide. "Lord," she spoke gently, "we stand here before you, fragile yet hopeful. Our hearts ache for your love and guidance as we choose to step into the unknown. Teach us, O God, to embrace the cleansing waterfall. Help us to face our fears and the discomfort that may come. With each word, Emma sensed an electrifying connection to her friends, an unbreakable bond anchoring them into shared purpose as if on cue. The soft sound of flowing water grew louder. Was it the outside world blending with their inner yearnings? Or was it a divine sign, a beckoning call drawing them to take the plunge? Emma opened her eyes, scanning the faces of her friends. Gratitude filled the air, unspoken yet palpable. Together, we can be the change, Sarah whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Our sensitivity doesn't make us weak. Rather, it makes us compassionate. If we dive into the waterfall, we'll learn to carry each other as burdens. Brian nodded, the flicker of determination dancing in his eyes. Exactly. This is our chance to not just survive but to thrive, to show love in its rawest form. We are meant for more than just comfort. We're meant to affect the world around us. His voice gained volume with every phrase, fueled by newfound conviction. I felt the chains of my own fears loosening. The young woman chimed in, her eyes brightening as she spoke. With each step toward vulnerability, I can feel liberation swelling within me, calling me to break free from the shackles of shame and doubt. Emma's heart soared as she looked at them, each friend reflecting the light of burning desire to step into the divine flow. It was no longer just a leap. It was a journey toward understanding, a movement towards healing, and an invitation to be wholly transformed. Let us not just seek transformation for ourselves, but for others too, Emma stated, her voice steady. With every step we take together in faith, we will help those who feel lost and alone. We may face discomfort, but in vulnerability lies our power to heal. Her words ignited a spark, and suddenly, they weren't just individuals voicing their hopes, they were a unified force poised to make a remarkable impact. All at once, soft overlapping phrases began to fill the space, as each friend shared their commitments to journey forward. They spoke of dreams, not just for themselves, but for a community yearning for love, acceptance, and grace. This waterfall they envisioned would not merely wash over them, it would flow through them. It would pour forth compassion and act as a balm for the wounded. Yet, a flicker of conflict brushed against them, a question buried in the depths. But what happens if we fail? What if we step into that river and drown instead? Brian's voice softened, uncertainty swirling in the room once more. Emma felt that familiar tremor of fear creep back in. It was a whisper of doubt that every heart battles, one that could easily thwart their intentions. Yet, the echo of their earlier resolve rang true. Connection and support would carry them even through the unknown. Perhaps, Emma responded, meeting Brian's gaze with unwavering courage. It's in surrendering our control that we find the greatest strength. God doesn't ask for perfection. He asks for our willingness to trust. The shadows of self-doubt began to recede, replaced by a flicker of hope. As they shared in prayer again, the presence of something divine wrapped around them, a gentle reminder that they were not going alone. And then, the waterfall of sound surged forth once more, louder and more compelling. The time was drawing near. Will you step into the unknown? Emma asked, her heart filled with anticipation. What awaits us continues to unfold together. As the echoes of their voices rose in prayer, a soft light flickered across the walls, an invitation into the deeper waters that waited just beyond their fears. Each moment swelled with promise, but what revelation awaited them in the depths of that waterfall? The chapel was awash in a golden light, shimmering like a veil pulled aside to reveal the secrets of heaven. Emma stood at the organ, her heart racing, knowing that tonight was unlike any other. The gathering had reached a crescendo of faith, and she could feel it pulsing in the air, the kind of expectancy that hung like sweet incense, pregnant with possibility. As she closed her eyes, she envisioned the waterfall, its cascading beauty promising renewal and liberation. Lord, she whispered, let us be ready to dive in. The congregation gathered closer, hands joined. Emma could sense their collective heartbeat, the rhythm of hope and vulnerability thrumming like a sacred drum. In this shared space, They prepared to leap into the unknown together, not as mere individuals but as a community woven tightly by faith. The moment lingered, thick with tension and reverence. Emma took a breath, steadying herself. Her fingers brushed the organ keys as she began to play once again, each note spiraling upward, ascending like prayers to the heavens. The music wove through the air, binding their souls tighter, stitching shards of hope into a tapestry of grace. It filled the chapel with warmth, like the embrace of an old friend. Suddenly, a soft sound interrupted, akin to distant waters crashing against rocks, a hint of the mighty river they had envisioned. The congregation stirred, anticipation blooming in their hearts. Emma opened her eyes and spoke, her voice resonating with the weight of authority and love. We must be willing to face what lies within our souls. Let us embrace both the joy of healing and the pain of growth. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, and Emma could see the flickers of enlightenment shining in their eyes. One by one, members began to share. I felt trapped in darkness for too long, said Sarah, her voice trembling yet fierce. I want to be a beacon of light for those lost in despair. A tear slipped down Emma's cheek as she nodded, her heart swelling with pride at these brave souls. Together we can turn the tides. Together, our sensitivity will guide us towards healing. A gentle hand was raised. It was Brian, his face alight with determination. I've battled fear all my life, yet now I feel it lifting. His courage bolstered them all. Let us share what we've learned, showing those around us that vulnerability is not weakness, but strength. As the congregation echoed their thoughts, Emma felt the barriers of doubt begin to crumble like old walls thinning, breaking, transformed by their shared experience. The young woman from before spoke again, her voice clearer this time. I saw the waterfall again. It's rushing towards us, waiting for our choice to embrace it. Emma's heart took flight. Yes, this was more than a moment, it was a movement. Let us step into that renewal. All at once, with that encouragement, each person began to imagine their own burdens slipping away, and together they began to chant softly, we dive together. We let the waterfall cleanse us. The ambient sound of rushing water grew louder, reverberating through the chapel. It felt as if God had opened the floodgates, unleashing torrents of compassion that poured through their hearts. Could it be? Were they truly ready to immerse themselves in faith? As if in reply, the light intensified, illuminating each face. And then, an incredible thing happened. One by one, they began to stand up, stepping forward in courage, surrendering their fears, tribulations, and struggles. In that moment, Emma realized this was the true miracle they had sought. Not just healing for her father or personal triumphs. This transformation illuminated the path forward, uniting them all. Each person offered their hearts to the river, plunging into the waters of faith together, arms entwined, souls awakened. Lord, we trust you, Emma cried, her voice rising above the crescendo of their shared acknowledgement. We choose you, lead us through this journey. And as the final notes of her song hung in the air, there was an overwhelming presence, a palpable sense of divine love, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Emma could feel the warmth of goddess grace enveloping every heart, the spirit of renewal washing over them, reviving spirits as each soul was purified by understanding that vulnerability is strength. Underneath it all, Emma sensed a divine smile, the universe rejoicing in this shared communion, in their reaching toward the miraculous. As they pulled each other into a collective embrace filled with love, Emma knew with certainty that this was merely the beginning. The waterfall was just a precursor to the unmeasurable blessings that awaited them. They had unlocked a doorway to divine revelation and, together, they would continue to seek the heart of God. With joy swelling in every heart, the moment would be marked. This wasn't simply an end, but a new beginning, sacred and filled with promise. Now is your moment. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and testimonies about the ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Let us spread the miracle.